Hey everyone, Robertinho here. Welcome to Lecture 3 of our series, How to Visualize Theory on the Instrument. Well, if you have been following the lessons that I have been posting here on the channel, great. Because I was also very anxious to start this lesson. Today we're diving into something that every guitar player struggles with at some point. How do you stop sounding mechanical when playing scales and chord progressions? How do you actually make them sound musical, like you're telling a story, not just following a formula? And how understanding these connections can enhance your ability to build music directly on your instrument. If you've ever felt like your solos sound like exercises or your chord changes feel robotic, this lesson is for you. I am going to break it down on the fretboard, visually, logically, and musically. You'll learn how to connect your scales to your chords and how to create progressions that breathe, flow, and feel like real music, not just theory drills. So grab your guitar, tune up, and let's get into it. To begin, let's quickly review some key concepts from our previous lessons. The complete sequence of the 12 relative major and minor keys, how sharps and flats are distributed in each key, and how to identify the number of accidentals in any given key. The idea of comparing this sequence to a metrical or numeric scale, reinforcing the importance of structured mental visualization. As we progress, I want you to develop the ability to mentally see the positions of the tones on your instrument, whether you are moving forward or backward through the cycle. This mental visualization is what allows musicians to recognize chord progressions by ear or to construct them confidently while composing or improvising. This is one of the core goals in our journey, to master music theory on the instrument rather than apart from it. Think of this process like learning the times tables in math. At first, it may feel overwhelming, but as we internalize the fundamentals, everything else becomes significantly easier to grasp and apply. In this lesson, I'll guide you through a practice that helps you master the 12-tone sequence alphabetically, just like reciting the letters A, B, C, D, forward and backward. But here's the key challenge in music theory: accidentals. These symbols, sharps and flats, raise or lower a note by a half step, and they are often the source of confusion when trying to quickly visualize a chord or scale. Understanding how accidentals function is crucial, especially when you need to identify the tone that precedes a tonic. You're looking for a relative minor or major within a key. You're trying to follow or build a scale-based chord progression on the guitar neck. So in this lesson, we will break all of that down together. We'll go step by step through the process of building chords and scales, all while reinforcing the theoretical framework we've been discussing. Let's get started by doing, not just explaining. Together, we'll work on internalizing these patterns so they become second nature. These are the 3 templates we're going to use in this lesson. How to learn to play chord progressions and scales musically. Let's get into it. Let's start building the E major scale on the board. As I have explained, without the accidentals, in this case, sharps, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, E, A, D, G, C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, A sharp, D sharp, G sharp, C sharp, F sharp, B. The relative minor sequence. What if I tell you that there is a better way to understand and visualize the minor sequence without doing all this conversion shown here? But first, let's hear this. Understanding the 12-tone sequence, major and relative minor keys. Before we dive into chord progressions and scale applications, it's essential to develop a solid understanding of the 12-tone sequence in both major and relative minor keys. These two sequences form the very foundation of tonal music, and grasping them clearly at this stage will make everything else, chords, harmony, and improvisation, far more intuitive down the road. As you can see, the sequence of relative minor keys contains no accidentals. This is not an oversight. It's a deliberate simplification that allows us to first visualize the structure clearly, just as I explained at the beginning of this lesson. We will eventually build on this by introducing accidentals when they appear in real-world keys. I understand that music theory can sometimes feel tedious, especially in today's fast-paced world, where many learners are looking for instant results with minimal effort. But I encourage you to stay present and patient during this phase of your learning. Why? Because what you're studying right now is one of the most important lessons in music theory. The major and minor key sequences are not just academic concepts. They are the building blocks of functional harmony and musical expression. Unfortunately, many intermediate-level musicians still play without truly understanding how these sequences work. They can play songs, but they can't always tell you why those chords work or how to move freely between keys. So I encourage you, don't skip ahead. Don't rush. Take your time with each concept I'm showing you here. Each part of this framework will save you countless hours later on. Hours you might otherwise spend searching for disconnected lessons that entertain more than they educate. This path may feel slower at first, but it's the one that will lead you to genuine mastery. Now let's complete the relative minor sequence by introducing the accidentals in each tonality, so you can see the in-depth explanation given here, and place the relative minor on the sequence you can better visualize and understand, as the same as the sequence of the 12 major tones. Let's examine the graph presented here. It illustrates several important elements. The order of sharps and its counterpart with one flat, starting with the key of F. The order of sharps and flats together, showing how each order can function as either an altered form or an enharmonic equivalent, depending on the musical context. To grasp the functionality of these sequences, we need to clarify a few foundational points. In the sharp order, the key of F appears with a single flat, making it unique in this progression. The key of B, on the other hand, is significant when considering enharmonic equivalence and the altered notes sequence. Although there is no universally simple explanation for why these notes are positioned this way, it largely relates to how pitch systems were historically transcribed, especially on instruments like the piano. Yet, for us as musicians, both F and B play an important functional role. F can be visualized as the penultimate tone before B, flat. In the flat key sequence, B serves as the final tone in the 12-tone cycle before the sequence renews. Some musicians may point out the enharmonic equivalence of B and C, flat. While technically correct, in practical musical usage, B tends to be more commonly referenced due to its construction with 5 sharps, compared to C, flat, which contains 7 flats, a structure that is less frequently employed. For this reason, I personally prefer to treat B as the final tone in the sequence, and F as the reference point before we enter the flat territory. This same visualization strategy applies when studying the relative minor sequence. To conclude this section, let's now annotate the relative minor sequence with their respective accidentals. This will help us see how the relative minors integrate into the established order, making them easier to memorize, internalize, and apply in real musical settings. Dear learner, to further clarify the material we've explored so far, let's now take a closer look at 2 essential graphics. both derived from the 12-tone major sequence, which will help consolidate your understanding of a few remaining concepts. Throughout this lesson, you've been introduced to the order of sharps, the order of flats, the structure of relative minors, and even the complexities of altered notes and enharmonic equivalents. If at any point these topics have seemed overwhelming, know that this is a natural part of deepening your musical knowledge. My goal is not simply for you to learn the theory presented here, but to truly master it. As you've seen, the division between the major and minor sequences reveals an underlying alphabetic pattern that mirrors the natural order of musical notes: A, B, C, and so on. You've also learned how the order of sharps follows the sequence E, A, D, G, C, F, something you've likely begun to internalize. However, it's often in the transition to altered notes or enharmonic equivalents that many students encounter difficulty. And while it's common to hear that major and minor are the same, the real challenge lies in being able to visualize and apply that relationship effectively on the guitar. That is exactly where we are headed next. To fully grasp how major and minor tonalities interact with one another, it's essential that we now move beyond theory and begin hands-on practice. By applying what you've learned directly to the instrument, you'll gain the visual and physical familiarity needed to reinforce your theoretical foundation. So let's take this next step together. From this point on, we begin the instrumental practice section of our study. Get your guitar ready, and let's make the theory come alive under your fingers. Thank you for being here till the end of this video, and I will see you soon. I can accomplish the following lesson. In order for me to do all this work, I ask you for your support. Please subscribe, comment, like, and share with your friends, even if they're not into playing guitar. Thank you very much. See you soon.